Good day, everyone. Allow me to present to you this topic on gender sensitivity, a must for a family physician. I am attorney Eric Paul D. Peralta, and my credentials are stated on the current slide. So thank you for inviting me to participate in this conference. Now, my task is to discuss on gender sensitivity, a must for a family physician. So gender sensitivity talks about the what's, no, and the why and how. I would like to present it in this manner so that we will be able to capture the main concept of gender sensitivity while realizing the reason behind uh, this concept, and why it should be done, or why should family physicians must be aware of this kind of principle, and also how can you say that you will be already gender sensitive. To start with, it's proper to discuss about the concept of gender sensitivity. Now, gender sensitivity is deemed to be a process by which people are made aware of how gender plays a role in life through their treatment of others. As family physicians, we encounter in our daily lives, people, and in the course of your profession, it's very important that you will properly understand, or you properly be aware of a gender, of the specific gender of a given person or constituent that you will be in touch with. Also, in the macro perspective, you should also realize that when you talk about gender, there's always a societal context involved. Why? Because gender is a social construct, and therefore, when we talk about the society, a lot of issues and problems are present. And gender, the concept of gender is not an exception. In fact, when we put gender as part of the society, it presents a plethora of issues or problems that must be properly addressed with. And at the end point, gender sensitivity should be properly realized so that it will help generate respect for the individual regardless of sex. In my experience of delivering lectures on gender sensitivity, the bottom line remains to be respect. All right. So gender sensitivity for beginners is like gender sensitivity 101. No? We must always remember that it's not a war of the sexes. It's not only about men. It's not only about women. It's an effort towards achieving national development by both men and women, or applying respect, regardless of sex. Second, it's not an anti-male stance. Male stance, no. Common misconception about gender is that it is against males, no. But well, in fact, males. The concept of gender sensitivity is a pro-male stance, no. It's a pro-male stance. It's a pro-male stance as well as being a pro-female stance, no. So that's what gender sensitivity is all about. Third, both men and women are given importance, flowing from that concept of that um, uh, both sexes, are given proper attention and proper consideration. And also, but in reality, we must acknowledge that biologically, women are more burdened than men. Why? Because of the sex roles of women, which are childbearing, gestation, and the pregnancy part. No? So, really, indeed, women are more burdened than men. Okay? And also, flowing from the concept of gender as part and parcel of the society, discrimination exists in society, and studies will show that women are more discriminated in society in various aspects. No? But again, since both women and men are given importance, it goes to show that women and men also have a stake in gender equality. All right, so that's what gender sensitivity, the basic concepts of gender sensitivity. So I just want to somehow dig deeper by really emphasizing on the difference of sex and gender. No? I know you are already family physicians, but I think it's better that will have a recap on this specific concepts. Basically, sex is a biological fact. Gender, again, is socially and culturally constructed. Sex talks about natural attributes. No? However, gender, it's created, produced, reproduced, perpetrated, no? By social institutions that are existing in the Filipino society. Sex characteristics are deemed to be universal. It's accepted internationally. However, gender characteristics are not universal and may vary from society to society. No? Uh, Different cultures attribute certain characteristics to gender which are not present in the Philippines, no, and present abroad. All right. Sex characteristics are generally equally valued and equally important. However, gender characteristics being a social construct, no, being part and parcel of the society are marked by inequality. Sex commonly uses terms like male and female, whereas gender uses terms like masculine and feminine. Sex, no, talks about certain biophysiological attributes, no, like for example, the primary sex characteristics, secondary sex characteristics, sex roles which are permanent, no, whereas we talk about gender, it's interchangeable. Traditional gender roles that are existing before might not be existing right now. No, gender roles can be performed by both sexes. Right, sex generally is constant regardless of time and place. However, gender is acquired or learned and can also be unlearned. So basically, no, as physicians, no, when we talk about, for example, a given patient who would like to uh, who become aware of the sex, no, of the baby inside the tummy of the pregnant woman or pregnant of your pregnant patient, no, mali po yung gender reveal. It's incorrect, no. It should be sex reveal, right? Because yun nga yung typical difference or the clear demarcation line between sex and gender. All right. Now, from this concept of sex and gender, we must also look at gender roles. No? Like what I mentioned, gender roles are changing, interchanging as compared to sex roles. No? And traditional gender roles, no, are not, cannot, or might not be present, no, in today's society. All right. Now, gender roles are those behaviors and attributes expected of men and women by a particular culture or society. Now, again, going back to the concept that gender is part and parcel of society, and that society sometimes expects something from that specific gender. So these behaviors and attributes are part of those kinds of expectations. For example, if you're a man, no, you cannot paint your nails, no, because you will be accused of being gay, no, or being a woman. So if you're a woman, you cannot wear, for example, like in this like scenario of Pokemon, no, you cannot wear suits, no. But when you look at the Team Rocket and Pokemon, these are the typical uh, uh, classic cartoons that break, no, gender stereotypes since the 90s. No? So yeah, no, because being part of the society, gender roles exist, and gender roles are those expectations of the society for men and women. And when there are gender roles, definitely, no, the effect will be to box, no, to box the capabilities, no, of men and women, the capabilities, for example, of a given transgender individual, no. So if the gender roles that are present seem to constrict the growth and potential of every individual. Now, these are some gender roles of men and women that are pretty common. And like what I mentioned, no, these are interchangeable. No? There are a lot of women who are leaders. There are a lot of women who are breadwinners of the family. On the other hand, there are a lot of men who are expert in cooking. You know? Most of the well-known chefs are males. No? And most men also know how to take care of their children and to keep the house or to make the house for that matter. So these are the gender roles right now that are interchangeable. But before, no, the traditional gender roles are somehow constrict the potentials of men and women. Now, the effect of these traditional gender roles, of course, is to divide men and women from each other. Women are denied access to the public world of work, no, of power, because if you're a woman, your gender role seems to be that you are a weak. No, you're weak. No? And that you cannot do, for example, you cannot become a lawyer for that matter because the the society expects you to be, non-dominant or non-aggressive. All right. Now the effect will be deleterious on your part because your potential is not tapped, or your growth, will not be harnessed. Okay. For men, men are denied the emotive aspect of their personality. Men cannot cry a lot, or that they can cry aloud, because they will be viewed, as weak. All right, the nurturant part, the nurturing aspect of being a man is also denied of men, because nga men daw ay dominant, aggressive, strong, like that. So this causes these traditional gender roles causes a divide, between men and women from each other, and causes adverse or deleterious effects because of the growth and potential that are being constrained, to them. All right. However, good news is gender roles change as what I've shown. Now, after gender roles, it is very important we also discuss gender socialization. So, socialization is the process by which individuals are informed about uh, norms, traditions, behaviors associated in our assigned sex, usually during our childhood development. I think this is very important. This is very important for you to know, because one of the agents of gender socialization is the family. There are four kinds of agents of gender socialization whereby those processes are being brought about, family, school, media, and the religion. Now, family, has the most influence. Why? Because again, when we talk about gender socialization, much of it happens during the early childhood, and since early, usually, commonly, that stage pertains to still being part and parcel of the family setup. So it has the most influence because the formative years of every individual is almost always spent with and developed with the family. So in other words, what you learn about gender, what you learn about what you can do, or what you learn about what is expected from you will be coming from your family. So, however, there are three processes by which gender socialization happens, in the family. So, it's in common. No? If you keep cutting your hair short, people are going to think that you're a lesbian. All right? Real men don't cry. I think this is a textbook example of gender socialization within the family setup. But there are three acknowledged kinds of socialization. We talk about families. There's verbal appellation, telling children what they are and what is expected of them. So you're a boy, so you cannot play Barbie. You cannot wear pink clothes, right? You should be strong. You cannot cry because real men don't cry. All right. So if you're a girl, you can't play robots. You cannot play guns, because you're a woman. So that kind of learning starts from the family, and the effect will be it will be perpetrated when the child grows up, and of course, because family is an important part of the society, this becomes uh, also plays a role in the gender roles that really causes the constriction that was what was I mentioning a while ago. All right, for canalization, people direct children's attention to gender appropriate objects. We tend to associate objects with specific gender. So color, blue, red, black for boys, no? For females, always yellow, purple, pink, ganyan. But in reality, wala naman talagang koneksyon, ang color sa kasarian. Alright? So yan, manipulation. People handle girls and boys differently even as infants. So this pertains to the concept that malikot, ay lalaki yan kaya malikot. Tahimik lang yan. Ingat ka dyan kasi babae siyang baby, ganyan. So these three processes are just a few of the ways how gender is socialized within the family setup. All right? And of course, in one study that I was involved in, when you ask why, of course, the family member will say, yan din ang ginawa sa akin nung nanay ko eh. Ganun din ang nangyari nun eh. Nakasanayan lang. All right. But I think this this will create a lot of negative consequences later on. All right. So that is within the family setup. Now, one important part or aspect of gender or the negative effect of gender is this one, gender discrimination. No? On the picture, you can see a typical illustration of discrimination in the field of labor. No? Right? So look at the woman. Aside from being burdened or being the caring or having a reproductive role, taking care of the child, yeah, it appears to be that she's also not fit to go into that kind of careers of having really good career. All right, so this is one kind of gender discrimination whereby employment was not given freely to each and everyone. And this one, gender-based violence, is the one punishable by law. You will see later that a lot of laws or criminal laws in the Philippines really address these kinds of issues. No? And of course, beyond what the letter of the law provides, no, we must also always understand that GBV or gender-based violence involves the abuse of power, unequal power relationships based on socially ascribed gender differences, and it pertains to any harmful act that is perpetrated against a person's will. Now, like what I mentioned, at this stage of gender discrimination, gender-based violence is punishable by Philippine law. So we now go to why. So why? First, because, or most importantly, because to be sensitive about gender is mandated for by law. First, by international covenant. Second, by national policies. And like what I mentioned, a lot of criminal laws in the Philippines penalize gender-based violence. There are a lot of international covenants which pertains about or talks about gender sensitivity and that the importance of it. The importance is really the kind of importance that gender sensitivity has, or being gender sensitive can be found in no less than the international covenants that the Philippines is a signatory to. First is one, UDHR. All human beings are born free and equal. So therefore, there should be no inequality in whatever form, in whatever manner, against anyone, regardless, or that everyone should be given equality and be born free regardless of gender, regardless of this one, sex. Second, the ICCPR, or the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. Again, same banana that the party who signs or who is bound by this covenant should always not discriminate or should be given full respect of their rights regardless of sex. All right. Next is on the ICESCR, whereby again, same banana with the two previous international covenants, okay, that the rights are guaranteed in this covenant should be without discrimination, and one of the aspects being considered is on sex. All right, going to the Philippines, our Philippine Constitution, Article 2, Section 11, there should be dignity for every human person and there should be full respect for human rights, echoing the previous international covenants that were mentioned. Article 3, Section 1 talks about that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property, and that no person shall be denied equal protection of the laws. So again, it talks about equal protection of the laws and provisions of equal rights to each and every one, regardless of whatsoever, including sex or gender. Magna Carta of Women, this pertains to rights of women, basically that all individuals are equal as human beings and that no one should be discriminated based on gender and sexual orientation. Of course, when we talk about sexual orientation, these are the attraction towards another. So for example, if you're a man, you're attracted to another man, then you're homosexual. If you're a woman, you're attracted to another woman, then you're lesbian. And if you're attracted to both sexes, then you're bisexual. So apart from categorizing now the concept of gender, it also talks about this issue on sexual orientation. Just the same, no? That's the same, that there should be no discrimination regardless of her gender, regardless of her sexual orientation. Now, this relatively new law about Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Act, particularly Section 2, this is, I think, the first law which mentioned about a categorization on SOGI. Now, SOGI is this one, sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. So, all other policies and practices discriminate on the basis of perceived actual HIV status, including SOGI, are inimical to national interest. Can you imagine, that if there are practices that seem to be discriminating on the SOGI of another person, giving focus to the perceived actual HIV status, then that can be an act inimical to national interest, or a matter of state attention, because it's a matter of national attention as it is inimical or opposite to what the national interest is all about. Now, the Anti-Bullying Act of IRR, this also is one law that I mentioned here because this is the first time that gender-based bullying was mentioned. In fact, the concept of SOGI again was also identified as that, if there are any acts that can humiliate or exclude a person on the basis of SOGI in a given academic setup, then that can be called gender-based bullying, punishable by the Anti-Bullying Act. So those are the, there's other specific laws, particularly criminal laws, whereby gender-based violence should be punished. There are a lot. RA 11313, or the Safe Spaces Act. This was actually enacted last 2019. RA 9264, the Anti-Vowsy Act. A353 is the Anti-Rape Law. RA 9775 talks about the Anti-Child Pornography Act. RA 7877 talks about the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act. And of course, our revised penal code, the oldest penal law of the land, whereby it punishes various acts, again, talking about gender-based violence. So, in other words, may it be in the international policy hemisphere or in the national policy hemisphere, as well as those whereby there are impending penalties of imprisonment, being criminal laws, gender is given attention and must be complied with. In other words, we must be gender sensitive. All right? Now we go to the how. So how can you be gender sensitive as a family physician? So it's very basic. You can be gender sensitive when you respect every person or individual regardless of age, ability, may it be physical or mental, belief or religion, educational attainment, race, ethnic group, status in society, marital status, region of origin, color, SOGI. So I think it really boils down to respect. And as family physicians, as medical professionals, we must look at the basic aspect of respect when we deal with gender sensitivity. Moving forward, gender sensitivity, you can be gender sensitive when you recognize that there is inequality between men and women and that it can be perpetrated on one generation to the next. In the country, I think we are faring high when I talk about the gender index. In the Philippines somehow is faring high, but I think we went below the top 10. Before we're number 7, now we're number 13, I think so. And to be gender sensitive, you recognize that this inequality in the home, in the community, in your respective medical field, and that institution should be changed. So it takes an aware eye or lens. So for you to realize that inequality is happening, and we must know that. And for you to call yourself as gender sensitive, you must be aware of that fact. All right. And of course, with that knowledge, with sufficient knowledge, it's very important that you work towards a transformation of such inequality in your home, in the community, in your respective medical field and institutions. So when you are already working forward or working towards the abolition or the eradication of this inequality, then you can be deemed as gender sensitive. So my challenge or my question to each and every participant as a family physician, are you up for the challenge? So yan po ang ating tanong. Tanong ko sa inyo, tanong kong iiwan. Are you up for the challenge of gender sensitivity? Of course you are. I know you are. Now, I would like to leave this quote in ending this short lecture. No? I think I have, in all my undertakings or engagements, I always leave this quote. Fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that will lead others to join you. By Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So I hope that you are encouraged, you were encouraged no, by this short and brief presentation. Gender equality and women empowerment are noble causes for me, and I hope you will be able to join me no, in this fight for gender equality and women empowerment, at least in your specific medical field. So maraming salamat po. No? It's a